Violet sits in the cold, damp cell, her hands shaking and her heart beating wildly. She can barely breathe as she waits for the guards to arrive. The accusation that weighs on her is unbearable: kidnapping and killing little Maya, daughter of the influential Judge Owen. She can't help but remember every detail of the nightmare that has unfolded over the past few months. Little Maya, with her golden hair and bright eyes, was the light of Violet's life. She always saw her playing in the park near her house, and although she didn't know her well, she felt an inexplicable bond with the girl. One day, Maya disappears, and the entire city goes into a state of panic. The investigations are intense, and all clues end up leading to Violet. The once peaceful community turns into a whirlwind of accusations and hatred directed at her. Violet finds herself trapped, with no one to trust except her own conviction of innocence. Violet, in her cell, feels the crushing weight of this early judgment. She can barely recognize herself in the media's descriptions of her. Every headline is a stab, every report is torture. She tries to remember who she really is, the simple things that define her humanity, but the collective voice that condemns her is deafening. Violet's despair is deep and constant. She can't sleep, haunted by the accusations and the uncertainty of the future. Her dreams are disturbed by nightmares where she is chased by an angry mob, with torches and pitchforks, demanding her head. Even awake, she finds no peace. The incessant buzz of media voices permeates the prison corridors, infiltrating her mind and turning it into a pit of anxiety and fear. Prison guards are not immune to media influence. Many of them look at Violet with contempt, some with barely concealed hatred. Biting comments and sarcastic laughs are her daily soundtrack. "It's just a matter of time, Violet," as some say. "You deserve what's coming." Every word is a small death, undermining any shred of hope she tries to hold on to. On social media, public opinion is relentless. People who have never met her express their vehement opinions, demanding the maximum sentence. Videos circulate, edited to show Violet in incriminating ways, manipulated to intensify the hatred. Her friends and acquaintances are harassed, some even receiving death threats for defending her. Those who once stood by her now turn away, fearing for their own safety and reputation. In the midst of this turmoil, there are moments of silence, moments when Violet wonders how it all got to this point. She remembers Maya, the girl with golden hair and bright eyes, and her heart sinks. She could never hurt Maya, that's for sure. But this certainty feels small and insignificant in the face of the overwhelming narrative that the media and public opinion have constructed. The days drag on, and each one seems heavier than the last. The trial date approaches, and with it, execution seems inevitable. Violet tries to prepare herself, but how can anyone really prepare for something like this? Anxiety is a constant shadow, an oppressive presence that never leaves you. In the interrogation room, despite the terrible accusations weighing on Violet, her face maintains a serene, almost zen-like expression. The investigators come and go, giving her accusatory and sometimes contemptuous looks, but she doesn't react. Her calm is almost otherworldly, an island of tranquility amidst the whirlwind of emotions and chaos around her. From the beginning, Violet refuses to defend herself. She patiently listens to every accusation, every theory and every insinuation, but remains silent. Her frustrated lawyers beg her to speak, to defend herself, but she just shakes her head, maintaining her imperturbable posture. "I didn't do anything wrong," as she says calmly, but doesn't offer more than that. Her refusal to negotiate or defend herself becomes a point of frustration for everyone around her. The media, eager for drama, turns her serenity into a weapon against her. Headlines scream that her calm is the mark of a psychopath, a woman without remorse. Television commentators argue endlessly about how someone accused of such a horrific crime could seem so indifferent. "She's cold as ice," as says one. "That can only mean she's guilty," agrees another. But Violet doesn't watch television. She doesn't read the newspapers. She simply remains steadfast in her decision not to defend herself. In court, Violet's demeanor is equally serene. Sitting in the dock, she watches each witness with clear, unwavering eyes. The tears of the witnesses, the anger of the prosecuting attorneys, the expression of hatred from Judge Owen, all this seems to pass through her like a light wind, without disturbing her. Aren't you going to say anything in your defense? The judge asks, his voice filled with disbelief and frustration. Violet looks directly at him, her eyes reflecting a deep stillness. No, sir, as she responds simply. Violet's decision not to defend herself deeply affects her defense team. Her lawyer, an experienced and tired man, cannot understand her stance. You're throwing your life away, he says, his voice full of despair. But Violet just smiles faintly, a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. And my life has already been taken from me, as she responds softly. All I can do now is maintain my dignity. These words, although calm, are like a blow to his lawyer, who struggles to hide his growing frustration. At the prison, the guards and other inmates are divided in their reactions to Violet's serenity. Some see her as a figure of strength and courage, admiring her ability to maintain her composure in the face of such adversity. Others see her as a dangerous woman, someone to be feared and avoided. She's like a statue, as says one of the guards. And nothing touches her. Yet it is exactly this unshakable calm that has some wondering if perhaps there is more to the story than meets the eye on the evidence. The days in prison are long and lonely, but Violet faces them with the same serenity she shows in court. She spends hours reading, meditating, and writing in an old worn-out diary. Her writings are introspective and full of reflections on justice, truth, and dignity. The truth always finds a way, as she writes on one of the pages. Even if I don't live to see it, I know it will come to light. These thoughts are her anchor, keeping her steady as the world around her falls apart. As the trial progresses, Violet's serenity begins to affect those around her in unexpected ways. Some are beginning to doubt the narrative that has been constructed against her. How can someone guilty of such a horrible crime maintain such inner peace? Is there something everyone is missing? These questions begin to infiltrate the minds of the jurors, the lawyers, and even Judge Owen, who can't help but be touched by Violet's composure. The journalists, always looking for a new perspective, begin to explore the idea that perhaps Violet is hiding something, not her fault, but perhaps a deeper secret, a truth that could change everything. The speculations are endless, but Violet remains silent, an enigmatic figure that no one can fully decipher. Her refusal to negotiate or defend herself becomes a symbol of something bigger, something that resonates with a public tired of scandals and false truths. Violet's meetings with her lawyers continue to be an exercise in frustration. At least let us make a deal, they beg. Anything to avoid the death penalty. But Violet remains firm. My innocence is not something to be traded, as she says, her voice calm but filled with unwavering determination. The trial is a public spectacle, with Judge Owen maintaining an implacable expression throughout the proceedings. Violet is presented as a cold and calculating woman, an image that contrasts brutally with the reality she knows about herself. In prison, the days drag on, and Violet is haunted by constant nightmares. She sees Maya's face everywhere, feels the crushing pressure of judgment and the inevitability of her fate. The other prisoners avoid her, some look at her with contempt, others with distant compassion, but no one dares to approach her. Loneliness becomes her only faithful companion, and she clings to the small hope that the truth will one day be revealed. On the eve of her execution, Violet's cell is immersed in an oppressive silence. She remains serene, her face a mask of tranquility, but inside, a whirlwind of emotions consumes her. The steel door slowly opens, and Judge Owen enters, his presence filling the small space with an aura of palpable hatred. Violet looks up at him, her expression unchanged, though her heart quickens. Owen approaches, his eyes shining with a mixture of pain and anger. He's silent for a moment, just looking at Violet as if he's trying to find some trace of regret or guilt in her face. You really are a monster, he says finally, his voice low but full of spite. My daughter, my sweet Maya, and you take this from me. How can you be so calm? Violet keeps her gaze fixed on him, her serene eyes reflecting Owen's emotional storm. I'm not guilty, as she responds with the same calmness she has shown throughout the process. But her words have no effect on Owen. He laughs, a bitter, joyless sound. Tomorrow you will pay for your crimes, and I will be there to see. We will meet one last time, Violet. The encounter with Owen deepens Violet's isolation in a way she didn't expect. After he leaves, the cell seems even colder and lonelier. She feels as if a new layer of ice is formed around her, further isolating her from the outside world. Owen's visit is a cruel reminder of the public's relentless condemnation, of the unremitting pain she represents for all who believe in her guilt. The serenity she fought so hard to maintain begins to disintegrate, piece by piece. Violet tries to meditate, seeking refuge in the inner peace she has always found amid the chaos, but Owen's voice echoes in her mind, filled with hatred and despair. Tomorrow you will pay for your crimes. The words swirl incessantly, eating away at your tranquility. For the first time, she allows herself to cry, silent tears streaming down her face as she lies in the darkness. The guards watch Violet with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. They are used to prisoners panicking on the eve of their executions, but Violet's serenity, despite everything, is disconcerting. She really believes she's innocent, one of the guards comments, shaking his head. Or she's the best actress I've ever seen. But for Violet, their opinion is just another weight to bear, further proof of the isolation in which she finds herself. On the eve of her execution, Violet's cell is immersed in an oppressive silence. She remains serene, her face a mask of tranquility, but inside her, a whirlwind of emotions consumes her. The steel door slowly opens, and Judge Owen enters, his presence filling the small space with an aura of palpable hatred. Violet looks up at him, her expression unchanged, though her heart quickens. Owen approaches, his eyes shining with a mixture of pain and anger. He's silent for a moment, just looking at Violet as if he's trying to find some trace of regret or guilt in her face. You really are a monster, he says finally, his voice low but full of spite. My daughter, my sweet Maya, and you take this from me. How can you be so calm? Violet keeps her gaze fixed on him, her serene eyes reflecting Owen's emotional storm. I'm not guilty, as she responds with the same calmness she has shown throughout the process. But her words have no effect on Owen. He laughs, a bitter, joyless sound. Tomorrow you will pay for your crimes, and I will be there to see. We will meet one last time, Violet. The encounter with Owen deepens Violet's isolation in a way she didn't expect. After he leaves, the cell seems even colder and lonely. She feels as if a new layer of ice is formed around her, further isolating her from the outside world. Owen's visit to her is a cruel reminder of the public's relentless condemnation of her, of the unremitting pain she represents for all who believe in her guilt. The serenity she fought so hard to maintain begins to disintegrate, piece by piece. Violet tries to meditate, seeking refuge in the inner peace she has always found amid the chaos, but Owen's voice echoes in her mind, filled with hatred and despair. Tomorrow you will pay for your crimes. The words swirl incessantly, eating away at your tranquility. For the first time, she allows herself to cry, silent tears streaming down her face as she lies in the darkness. The guards watch Violet with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. They are used to prisoners panicking on the eve of their executions, but Violet's serenity, despite everything, is disconcerting. She really believes she's innocent, one of the guards comments, shaking his head. Or she's the best actress I've ever seen. But for Violet, their opinion of her is just another weight to bear, further proof of the isolation in which she finds herself. The enforcement officer approaches, asking if she has anything to say. The last words. Violet takes a deep breath, knowing this is the moment she's been waiting for, the moment she's planned. The entire room holds its breath, every person there waiting for her words. I know the truth about Maya's disappearance, as she begins, her voice calm but clear, echoing through the room. There is a murmur of surprise, a shock that quickly spreads among those present. Maya is alive. She was hidden by her paternal great-grandparents, under Owen's instructions, to cover up his wife's accidental death and Maya's disappearance. Her words cause an immediate stir. The people in the room look at each other, shocked and in disbelief, while Owen goes pale, his face a mask of disbelief and suppressed fury. "You lie!" shouts Owen, his voice shaking with anger and pain. My daughter is dead because of you." But Violet keeps her gaze fixed on his, her serenity unshakable. "And no, sir," as she replies. "Maya is alive. And the truth will be revealed. You will pay for all the crimes you committed." Shock and confusion dominate the room. The journalists, who are there to document the execution, begin frantically taking notes, their cameras capturing every moment. Some of the guards exchange suspicious glances, while others seem disturbed by the revelation. The murmur grows, almost deafening, as everyone processes what they just heard. Owen approaches Violet, his fury barely contained. "You're lying. I'll do everything I can to make you pay for this, even after I'm dead," he says, his voice low but full of hatred. Violet doesn't back down, her eyes meeting his with quiet determination. The enforcement officer looks at Judge Owen, waiting for a decision. Time seems to stop as everyone waits for the next move. Violet remains calm, knowing that no matter what happens, she did what she could to reveal the truth. The room is filled with tension, a tension that seems almost palpable. Each person present is confronted with the possibility that everything they believed they knew about the case could be wrong. Owen finally takes a step back, his expression unreadable. "Stay the execution," he orders, his voice firm but full of conflicting emotions. "We have to investigate this allegation." The room erupts into murmurs again, as Violet is taken back to her cell, her serene expression intact. As she walks down the hallway, the weight of the revelation begins to sink in. She feels a wave of relief, mixed with uncertainty of what will come next. Her emotional isolation is still profound, but now there is a new layer of complexity. She planted the seed of doubt, and now we can only wait to see if the truth will finally come to light. Violet returns to her cell, where silence and solitude await her. But this time, there is a faint sense of hope, a glimmer that maybe, just maybe, the truth can be revealed. The stay of execution triggers an immediate investigation. The authorities, pressured by the possibility of a miscarriage of justice, begin to unravel the complex web of lies and secrets. Within days, the truth emerges. Maya is alive, hidden by her paternal great-grandparents under Owen's instructions to cover up his wife's accidental death and Maya's disappearance. The revelation comes as a shock to everyone, shaking the community that previously condemned Violet. The news spreads quickly, and public opinion changes. People who once condemned Violet now wonder how they were so easily fooled. Owen's face, once a symbol of pain and justice, now represents deceit and betrayal. Maya, rescued from her hiding place, finally reappears, and the truth about what happened begins to be told. Violet, still imprisoned but now awaiting a new trial, feels a mix of emotions. The truth finally came out. Owen, now exposed for his crimes of kidnapping and obstruction of justice, is in a different courtroom than the one where he used to preside. The judge, sitting in the chair where Owen once sat, delivers the sentence in a solemn voice: 30 years in prison. Owen hangs his head, his face a mask of defeat and regret. The audience in the courtroom, who once cried out for justice for Maya, now watches in silence, feeling the weight of the irony. Violet, sitting in the front row, watches everything with mixed emotions. She finally feels that the truth has prevailed. The relief is undeniable, but the emotional scar is still fresh. Her gaze remains fixed on Owen as he is escorted out of the courtroom, her shoulders hunched under the weight of her own guilt. Upon leaving the courtroom, Violet is greeted by a crowd of people, many of whom were there to convict her not long ago. The murmur of the crowd grows into a deafening cheer. The apologies come from all sides, some sincere, some embarrassed, but all acknowledging the mistake they made in judging Violet prematurely. She takes a deep breath, trying to absorb everything that is happening. Reporters and cameras are everywhere, documenting her every move, every expression. How does it feel to finally be cleared, Violet?" he asks a reporter, his microphone almost touching her face. Violet, maintaining the serenity that accompanied her throughout the ordeal, responds, I feel a mix of relief and sadness. Relief because the truth has finally come out, and sadness because I should never have gone through this. Back at her apartment, which has been empty and untouched during her absence, Violet allows herself a moment of reflection. Every object, every piece of furniture seems loaded with memories, some good, others painful. She sits on the couch, hugging a pillow as she lets the tears finally fall. They are not tears of sadness, but of relief. Violet still can't believe she survived the premature and cruel judgment made on her. The media continues to follow her life, fascinated by her transformation from villain to heroine. The interviews become frequent, and each one is an opportunity for Violet to speak about the importance of truth and justice. She uses her experience to advocate for changes in the justice system, seeking to prevent others from going through what she went through. Her face, once associated with guilt, is now a symbol of resistance and strength. Meanwhile, Owen faces his own battle behind bars. The irony of his fate is not lost on him, and every day is a reminder of the choices he made. Prison is an unforgiving place, and he finds himself reflecting on his mistakes, feeling the weight of the consequences. His fall from respected judge to condemned prisoner is a bitter lesson, one he revisits every night in his cell. And have you ever felt or know someone who was wronged for something they didn't do? Tell me here in the comments. Stay now with another exciting story.